Simply Good, Cooking with Rebecca. Today I'm making Oreo pie. This is a family favorite. My grandmother used to always make this for my sister on her birthday. It's a nice ice cream dessert that doesn't require any baking and is great for a summer treat. First thing I'm going to do is crush my Oreos in a food processor. We're grinding these Oreos up for our crust of our Oreo pie. I'm using 25 Oreos, which is about half a package. You don't have to count them out. I'm using reduced fat Oreos in this. We've made it over the years with double stuffed, regular Oreos and reduced fat, and we found we can't really tell much of a difference, so we might as well go ahead and use the reduced fat and just make it a little bit healthier for dessert. Still not healthy. Okay, so we're just going to grind these up just like you're making an Oreo crust. You want these into powder. Okay, now that I've got my Oreo cookies ground up, I'm going to be dumping them into a 10 by 15 pan and mixing them with just about a tablespoon of melted butter. If you don't have a food processor, when I was a kid we used just a Ziploc bag and rolling pin to crush them, and that was always the fun part the kids got to help with. Once my crushed Oreos are in my pan, I'm just going to mix it right in the pan with about a tablespoon of melted butter, just with a fork. Okay, once that's combined, you're just going to press it. I like to use a piece of wax paper and a ramekin or glass. First you need to make sure your crumbs are fairly evenly distributed. And then you're just going to press firmly the crust into place. Alright, if there are any areas around the edge or in the middle that you couldn't quite get with your ramekin or glass, you can just go and push those down with your fingers. Just make sure it's nice and packed. And this looks good, so I'm just going to take the wax paper out, and this is just going to go in the freezer and freeze for about an hour. I have my pie crust still in the freezer. I've had my ice cream sitting out for about 20 minutes just to get softened. The next thing I'm going to do is put 40 Oreos, or just under one package, in the food processor, chop them up. They don't need to be chopped quite as fine as they do for the crust. You can have little chunks. These are going to get mixed into the ice cream, so a little bit coarser of a chop is fine. Okay, I've got my Oreos nice and chopped. I'm going to be mixing this in two batches just because I didn't have a bowl big enough to mix all my ice cream and Oreos at once. So you're going to be using 2 half-gallons of ice cream. Our family favorite is chocolate, but vanilla is also really good. So I'm just going to put my whole half-gallon in the bowl and then add half my Oreos to it. Okay, so I'm just going to add half my Oreos and then just mix that together really well. With my first batch of ice cream and Oreo mix, I'm going to add that to my frozen crust. Just spoon it in and spread it out. Okay, now that my first batch is in there, I'm going to mix up my second one. If it's not perfectly spread out on your first batch, that's fine. You can just kind of spoon your second batch in around it. With the still frozen ice cream, it can be kind of hard to work. So now I'm just going to mix up my second batch. Okay, I've smoothed my ice cream and Oreo mixture into my crust. Now I'm going to add 1 large cup of Cool Whip to the top. Okay, I've just smoothed my whipped topping on top, and I reserved just a couple tablespoons of Oreos just to sprinkle on top. Our Oreo pie is complete. This is one of my family's favorite desserts. It's tradition for my sister to have this for her birthday. Whether you decide to serve it for a special occasion or just as a special treat, it's simply good.